If it's the first time today, I'm Dave Bracegirdle from BBC Radio Nottingham, and beside me, good chum, well fed hopefully, from BBC Wales, it's Nick Webb.
Well fed by the good folk of the canteen downstairs, as they dished out their various options.
More people here today, do you think?
Yes, a few more, I think.
You sense to see it when you're down there and see how many are in the food queue and all the rest of
it was slightly more busy than yesterday, I think.
Notts need a breakthrough. Glamorgan need the status quo.
Absolutely. 130 for 2. These two have been going nicely as we get the first ball after lunch, which is delivered to Sam Northeast, who defends it out on the offside, and there's no run. The board telling us that Everson is still bowling, but it is Pattinson.
It's changed now.
Richard Black, good afternoon to you. Feeling much happier with our top middle order options, with Root, Ingram, Cullen and Byram all in the mix. Can I get a shout out to my father, Rick Black, a lifelong fan who's also following on the stream, looking forward to a post-COVID sunny day down at Sophia. I hope you get it, Richard. As Northeast drives, and was that a half chance to backward point? There's a misfield in the deep as well by Everson, and I think that might have carried just to the left of Gully, who is now down examining his fingers. It is Pattinson White.
Where he landed, you can see there's a cover there, the square cover that they pop up and they're able to get the water. I don't know what the technical term is. I'm sure a groundsman will help me out, but that's where the sprinklers are, and they have a little cover. It seems as if he landed on that, jarred his wrist.
2 runs taken. And a dot ball, the next ball, as it's played to mid-on.
I think it was close. I don't think he got a hand to it, but I do think he has hurt his hand falling on that cover.
Distinctly average cricketer on Twitter says Stuart Broad for a couple of years and hopes someone else appears as England captain. Stokes doesn't strike me as a decent captain or the right choice for this team.
The only thing I'd throw in there, and again, whatever, we'll all have opinions and whatever, is all these series suddenly become back to back to back to back, don't they? And you know, if Stuart bowls 40, 50 overs in a match, is he going to be around for the next one?
Next ball from Pattinson is played on the offside. And
I don't just mean that just for Stuart. I mean for the fast bowler, it does seem they like to rotate and rest, don't they? It's very difficult for any captain to sort of come in if he's going to be a fast bowler, if they are going to play back to back to back. Not that I'd be against Stuart doing it. He'd do a fabulous job.
As Pattinson retreats into the distance and now runs towards us from the pavilion end in the afternoon sunshine, bowls to Northeast, who drives up to mid-off, no run. Eddie Baton, who works as a cricket groundsman, says proper game of attritional cricket. Pitch will play a part as always later at Trent Bridge. Any thoughts as to how this pitch might develop over days 3 and 4?
It won't change or deteriorate dramatically. Obviously the bounce will just get a little slower.
Pattinson to Northeast, defends to mid-off, no run.
Little bit of life will go out of it, but there won't be, there won't be dramatic conditions on the last day. Nobody's going to be ragging it square or what have you. Not
even with the demon spinner Pattinson White in your ranks.
Not even with Mutai Muralitharan in your ranks. It will be all about the spinner's art, won't it? Flight and guile, really. If the spinners are going to make inroads, they need to apply pressure, but they're not going to get appreciable assistance from the surface. It will stay pretty much as it is, but the bounce will obviously lessen a little bit. It is going to be James Pattinson, so this is going to be a challenge, as you'd expect, as probably the batsman would want. They'd want to be challenged. James Pattinson, 9 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 41, as we generally say with James Pattinson bowling. It is all about the end column. He gives it absolutely everything with attacking field, so he does go for a few runs, but it's what he can get you in the end column, which makes him very marketable. Comes in to bowl to David Lloyd, and straight away it skews off the top right-hand portion of the bat and down to third man. There is a fielder down there, and they get a single, 133 for 2. So we've had 100 runs today for the loss of 2 wickets. Salter for 16 and Labuschagne for 3.
Yeah, 37th over. Pattinson does not have as aggressive a field for his second spell as you might expect. In fact, he's got 5 saving the single, 2 slips, and men out at third man and fine leg.
Yeah, there'll be some sort of plan they've hatched during the lunch interval. He comes in to bowl to Sam Northeast, and well, a carbon copy of the previous ball. It's just guided with an open face down to third man for a single, 134 for 2. Bit of a turnaround in the game at Taunton, we were seeing during the lunch interval. Somerset 109 all out yesterday. You'd think they were out of the game, but they bowled Essex out for 180. Good morning for Craig Overton with 7 wickets in that one. So Essex with a lead, but not as many as they would have hoped. 71 in front. They're still at lunch there. 134 for 2. Lloyd has 59. Pattinson bowls ball of fullish length, worked up to mid on to Brett Hutton.
Yes, the first game of the much delayed 2020 season, which didn't start until August. Of course, Glamorgan got duffed up by the Overtons at Taunton, beaten in pretty quick time, and thought, right, we've waited 4 months for the season to start, and we get that. Great. From a Welsh point of view. Anyway, it was good to be playing.
There's Pattinson bowling to Lloyd. And, ball again of fullish length, 9 inches outside the off stump. Lloyd has nothing to do with it.
Or for them to be playing and us to be commentating. Although I think, reaching back through the memory, I think we started playing club games a couple of weeks earlier than the first class game recommenced in that horribly short season.
134 for 2. As Pattinson in again, and another delivery which is allowed to pass through to Tom Moores.
Phil Salt, the other leading North Walian in county cricket, is out for 97 for Lancashire against Kent, caught off Hamidullah Kadri. Stephen Croft has gone at the other end for a mere 155 as well. Lancashire 471 for 6. Plenty of big scores around in these opening 2 rounds.
Yep. Pattinson, final ball of this over. Bowls. It's going to be the 3rd single from it. It's out to Asiba Mead on the leg side. Loses his cap and the sunglasses that were perched on top of the cap as he rushes in from the leg side fence. And does keep them to 1 run, 135 for 2. David Lloyd on to 60 and will keep strike. Sam Northeast 3 away from his 50. The pair have added 8. 3rd wicket, 135 for 2.
So these two moving along nicely at the moment. If they can get through this second spell from Pattinson, that'll be a relief to the Welsh side's batsman. Pattinson will look to pose his threats at not quite such a dizzy velocity at the other end as he starts a new over from the pavilion end. Clouds coming over as Lloyd pushes forward and the ball runs to cover where Hasib Hamid fields, and there's no run The twill didn't last long then. Pattinson White, 2 overs, 0 for 6 before lunch. As Nottinghamshire go back to their big guns, the hired guns, Patterson and Pattinson. And it is the South African who has the ball in his hand at the moment, bowling to Lloyd, who flicks it away through the leg sides, beating a diving Slater at mid-wicket. Away to the ropes, through the barriers, and down that concrete alleyway where it's rolled back by a young boy in a bright yellow Nottinghamshire top.
Gold.
Sorry, apologies.
Gold.
Yep.
Gold. Sounded like Bill Lorry and Max Walker on those old tapes. It's lovely again to see all the youngsters out there. Rather more today on the outfield at lunchtime, and 1 or 2 of the players were out there. I think we saw James Wheel with presumably his family taking the lunchtime air, having a nice stroll around. But lots of youngsters out there with bat and ball, and it's great to see.
Patterson into bowl to Lloyd, who's propping forward, defending, back to the bowler, no run. He's scoring a decent rate, David Lloyd, but he is, at the moment, touch wood, mixing defence with aggression, mostly in the correct proportions.
Scored I'll pull it up so I can argue with myself. I was going to say, he seems to have scored a decent... Yeah, no, he hasn't. You see, that was just his 7th boundary. I was going to say seems to have scored rather a lot of boundaries, but 7.
Patterson bowls and Lloyd leaves outside off stump. Through to Moores, like Chris Cook, sporting yellow gloves. Yes, we haven't been big on boundaries, have we? What, at 14 in 38 overs? But on some fairly wide open spaces towards the Smith-Cooper stands, there have been plenty of 2s and the odd 3. Patterson to Lloyd, who is hit somewhere around the waist area, obviously not too painful, as Hamid dashes in and picks up from cover. 139 for 2 in reply to Nottinghamshire's 302 all out, but we saw in the final session yesterday how quickly wickets can tumble. Glamorgan claiming 6 of them inside the first couple of hours of the last session. Lloyd leaves outside off stump, through to Moores. End of Patterson's over. 139 for 2. Lloyd 64. Northeast 47 as he bids for a first half century in Glamorgan colours.
Yes, not sort of hoped to get this early breakthrough at the start of this session. Well, both bowlers were fresh into their work, but nothing doing yet. Stephen Mullaney has come over to have a word with James Pattinson. They obviously have had a chat with the analyst, I would imagine, through the luncheon interval. Third man as protection. Pattinson in to bowl to Sam Northeast on 47. Works this one down instead to long leg, where Dane Patterson will do the tidying up. And another single. 140 for 2. Northeast on to 48 now, and hands over responsibilities once again to his captain David Lloyd on 64. I'm sure there's an awful lot of this. Graham says he's Bumble making a comeback. Nas says David Lloyd, I thought he was a gymnasium, etc, etc. He must, and David must get this all the time. Of course, Graham Lloyd, the umpire, son of David, he always gets called Young Bumble, doesn't he? As Pattinson is in and bobbed underneath by David Lloyd. There was a tennis player, David Lloyd, as well, wasn't there, back in the day?
There was.
David Lloyd and John Lloyd, 2 Davis Cup players for England in the for GB back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, never heard of David Lloyd after that. Wonder what he did.
Was he the gymnasium one?
The tennis player was the leisure centres, isn't he?
Yeah, oh, right, yeah. Yeah. Pattinson. Bowls, this one's cut into the offside, there's no run. John Lloyd married Chris Evert, didn't he, for a while? Had a fairly short marriage, I think it was. 140 for 2. 15th of April 1980, so 41 years ago, we sadly lost Barry Stead. Those of you that'll have watched your cricket here for many a year will remember Barry Stead, 60s and 70s. My word, he ran in heart on his sleeve. Began with his home county Yorkshire. As Pattinson is in and bowls, this goes through to the keeper. Sadly died, aged just 40, 41 years ago today. James Foster's birthday as well today. He was born on that day, 15th of April 1980. The former Essex wicket keeper, who very much into coaching, isn't he? Seems to his name seems to crop up and find him with many of the franchises.
He briefly popped up in Cardiff, helping out in T20.
140 for 2. James Pattinson bowls. That's an absolute peach of a delivery there. Lloyd did well not to nick that, and I think on the field, by common consent, everybody knows what a good ball that was. So nicely not played by David Lloyd. Could so easily have edged that one. Good tight line just outside the off stump, and it's a quickish delivery as well.
Into this tricky territory in the corridor of uncertainty between sunglasses or no sunglasses.
140 for 2. Lovely day. Supposed to be dry throughout the game, as this has worked towards mid-wicket. Should be cut off. I see Bermead's out there. They've already run 2, so they'll just eye the prospect of a third up and turn it down. Good work from Bermead. 2 more runs. 142 for 2. Lloyd 66, North East 48. Nice enough day yesterday. I think we played about only the last 3 or 4 overs with the floodlights on, weren't they? We thought we'd sort of got past the stage. Was it the entirety of the Glamorgan innings?
Yes.
Very late in the day that the floodlights came on.
Yes, I think it was 5 overs last night.
Tom Moore's just he's the latest to have a wardrobe malfunction. I think he's had a stud either replaced or tightened up. Calvin Harrison in a bright orange bib coming out doing the repair work.
Fraction more cloud around this afternoon, but nothing really to detract from the enjoyment of the spectators of the conditions, as Pattinson from the pavilion end bowls to northeast, who blocks it up to mid-on, and there's no run. Northeast on 48 not out, going about a run every other ball, and Glamorgan supporters will hope he has a productive 3 years in Cardiff. He's certainly got the experience for it to add another frontline batsman to the ranks. As next ball is driven by northeast to mid-off, and no run.
Just played the 2 games for Notts last year. I think I earlier said 3. I thought he played 3. No, he just played the
3
2
innings,
games.
I think it was,
2 games, yeah, 3 innings. Highest score of 65 for Notts last year.
I'm accused by Rhys Jenkins of cursing Marnus Labuschagne for tweeting a little video of the shot with which he got off the mark, which was second out of the 3 balls that he received. Pattinson bowls, and forward comes northeast, defending on the offside. Clearly in no particular hurry to get to a 50 if he does get there. 40th over of the innings. Nottinghamshire over rate is still level Glamorgan -1. So they need to bowl a little bit more speedily in terms of the over 8 in their second innings, and not second innings, as North East leaves outside off stump. So just the 12 runs added since lunch so far. A little bit of a lull as Glamorgan see off a renewed assault from the two overseas pacemen.
Yes, if they can weather this storm for the first half an hour, 40 minutes or so, then could be nicely set for a big score. But we saw that yesterday with Notts, didn't they? With 258 for 4, and wickets went tumbling. And that was before the second new ball was taken, wasn't it? The 4 or 5 of them went down.
As North East drives, doesn't quite time it to mid-off, no run. Yeah, it was 4 in successive overs with the old ball, 73rd, 74th, 75th, 76th, 2 apiece to Hogan and to the never before seen in the UK seam of Marnus Labuschagne. Bowling a not even quite military medium, but whatever it was effective. Gordon bowled Duckett. Big wicket there. North East drives again to mid-off. Again, no run. North East remains on 48, and the score remains 142 for 2 here on BBC Sport Online and also via the 2 county websites.
Not given a great deal away, Dane Pattinson. 10 overs, none for 23. So he's maintained an element of control. Bowling from the pavilion end, James Pattinson has gone for a few more. 11 overs, 1 for 47. Just having a word with his captain, and then they'll be setting off to bowl to Lloyd, who's on 66, just 2 slips. Clark at 1, Duckett at 2. There's Pattinson again, bouncer, which Lloyd is able to comfortably bob underneath. There's no run there. I mentioned, Nick, no sign of any Welsh flags this morning, and it looks way to my right.
They've been stung into action
in the William Clark stand, as if we've got a daffodil or 2 there, and
oh, yes.
A couple of Welsh flags, and now coming into the ground.
Yeah.
Whether they've perhaps been here underneath us where we couldn't see them, but in the William Clark stand, we've got the away stand, we can call it. This next one, that's at mid wicket, as David Lloyd's hitting at the moment. If he clips one towards mid wicket, there'll be a big cheer out there. But they couldn't be any further away from the action. You can get closer than that, lads.
There's a couple of Welsh flags there, a few daffodil heads, and see Welsh football style bucket hat, so they could be a lively little group.
Lovely to see them. I'm not entirely sure. 1 or 2 of the more senior patrons sat in front will share the same view if they do set about enjoying themselves rather loudly. The Welsh flag's being waved. Next ball has gone through to the keeper. Seems to be being waved at us. Whether somebody's got an earpiece in or not, I'm not sure. But they're waving the Welsh flags now, and great to have them. 142 for 2. I'm sure Simon Trafford's out there, the Nottinghamshire photographer, and will have spotted them in the William Clark. We'll look out for a photo of them all. Simon,
did you say there was a bar near there?
Yeah, I would imagine, almost certainly. And yeah, there is the other side of that. Next ball is played up to mid-on.
That may have influenced their choice of location.
Yeah, they seem to have got some sort of, I think we'd call it bunting. They're now trying to climb onto the back of the stand to fasten this bunting up there. Now, would this be the Balconeers, or is this
I
just
doubt very much that they are the Balconeers.
Some independent stag party that's made their way to Nottingham?
The Balconeers tend to be of more mature years.
I can imagine this bunch of sharing Nick's hotel, and He's next going to renew acquaintances with them at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'm up on the 3rd floor, so hopefully out of danger.
142 for 2. Pattinson bowls nice and full, driven past him for 4, and Lloyd doesn't make a move. Didn't see the need to set off running because he knew he'd hit that straight down the ground, and that does bring out the Welsh flags and the daffodils in full voice. Lovely looking shot. Glamorgan 146 for 2, and Nottinghamshire have a pressing need now because the partnership has reached 3 figures. 100 put on between David Lloyd and Sam North East, and well, we know North East contribution is 48. I'm sure in a moment or two we'll get the full figures regarding that partnership, but that was a nice shot, and it's taken Lloyd to 70, pushing Pattinson down the ground. Here's the Australian. This one's cut away for runs in the offside. He's not got hold of it, and we'll only get a single. We've got a snooker maximum up there now. 147 for 2. When does that start? Is that tomorrow, the Crucible?
You've got the better of me there.
I think it is.
Umpire Illingworth had wandered off to point for the end of that over for no discernible reason. I think I'll have to leave you to steer through this over, because I'm going to have to move in a minute or two. Probably could manage a spinners over, but not a seamers. The 3rd wicket partnership, 101 off 191 balls. David Lloyd 51, Sam North East 48.
So all is well in the Glamorgan corner at the moment. It's going to be Dane Patterson to continue. A lot of top-level discussions going on out there on the outfield as Patterson comes in, bowls, and Lloyd happy to defend. He's on 71.
Yeah, they've chosen intelligently so far, these two, as you would expect of a couple of very experienced county cricketers.
More from Nick in a wee while after he's done his updates in and out of the football and what have you. It's a busy sporting day. Glamorgan 147 for 2. Here's Dane Patterson, the South African bowls delivery, which does jag back, but started life very wide of that off peg, so he's not going to be able to bring it back that much to inconvenience David Lloyd. Got the feeling that this is a very healthy sized crowd. It should be. It's a nice day, it's cricket, it's the first home game, it's an attractive game and all the rest of it, but it's a very decent crowd in. 147 for 2. Next ball goes through to Tom Moores. It is one of the things, you never seem to get the attendances for county championship cricket wherever you go up and down the country. They don't seem to relay how many are actually in the ground, which often leads to the one man and his dog incorrect headlines. 147 for 2. Lloyd has 71. Dane Patterson to bowl to him once more, and Lloyd happy to defend. Glamorgan still 155 behind, but well on their way to getting up to and maybe even beyond Nottinghamshire's first innings score of 302. We did see yesterday Notts slip dramatically from a position of power. There's Patterson. Balls again to Lloyd. Just forces it out to backward point where Liam Patterson-White, the ball polisher, picks it up and sets about his work. 5 dots in this over from Patterson. It's the 42nd over of the innings. Morgan going along now at 3.5 and over. They were 4.2 for much of the morning. There's Pattinson in, and that's a good lead from Lloyd, well judged, but a decent maiden from Dane Pattinson. Put the ball in good areas there and completes his 4th maiden, none for 23. Still going to be James Pattinson. So Jake Ball out there working with the coaches during the luncheon interval, seems to be bowling nicely. Lyndon James as well, who had such a heavy workload down at Hove. Could be lots of options for next week at Durham, should the coaching staff wish to make changes. I don't think Jake Ball's ready yet. I think the plan is for him to have a couple of second 11 games just before the blast, and then hopefully he will come through the blast unscathed and be ready for all forms of cricket from then on. There's James Pattinson bowling. Oh, and a scruffy inside edge from Sam Northeast past the stumps, and it's found its way down to Dane Pattinson. That could so easily have been inside edged onto the sticks by Northeast. 148 for 2. We may see Stuart Broad and Luke Fletcher and Lyndon James also all involved in the thinking ahead of Durham next week. So players will be keen to hang on to their places, keen to make an impression the rest of this game. There's Pattinson. Lloyd has 71. Pushes this back to the bowler, and there's no run. Elsewhere, play up and down the country in all 7 matches. Gloucestershire 227 yesterday, Yorkshire 150 for 4 in reply. That's at Bristol. At Canterbury, Lancashire, it's going to be a huge score there. They still bat in their first innings, 482 for 9. As Pattinson bowls to Lloyd, pushes into the offside, there's no run. 155 for Stephen Croft, 124 for Dane Vilas, 97 for Phil Salt in that one. 482 for 9, Lancashire playing Kent at Canterbury. At Taunton, gave you the lunch scores. Somerset 109, Essex 180 all out. Somerset just started 7 without loss, and Surrey are still batting in their first innings at the Oval against Hampshire. They're 418 for 8. Century for Ollie Pope yesterday in that one. Next ball down the leg side, little casual flick at it by Lloyd, got nothing on it as it goes through to Moores. Division 2, Derbyshire 497 for 7, 239 for Shan Masood, 111 for Wayne Madsen, and recently dismissed Alex Thompson made 52, yeah. 497 for 7. Anuj Dal, former Notts man, is 37 not out in that particular game. Here's James Pattinson in again, bowls cut to point where Liam Patterson-White does the fielding, and the only other one we've not given you is Chesterley Street, where Durham are now eventually all out for 428 centuries for Beddingham and Dixon, and Leicestershire have just started their reply. They're 14 without loss.
Is it cracking the flags up there? Usually is, I'm told.
148 for 2. Hope it is next week, because Notts will be up there this time next week playing against Durham, as James Pattinson fires another one outside the off peg. That's the end of the 43rd over, so we've had 8 overs since lunch. Obviously 4 overs apiece to the 2 Patos. So I'd imagine Stephen Mullaney will keep James Pattinson going a little while longer. Definitely wanted a breakthrough from this pair in this session or in this first period before he starts the bowling changes, but hasn't happened just yet.
Neil Thornycroft says, very sporting Notts crowd. Applauding the century partnership, I presume.
Yeah. I think generally you get that, don't you, up and down the country.
Admits to being a one-eyed Welshman himself. Here is Pattinson into bowl to Northeast, who fiddles that outside off stump, and for a moment I thought he'd got a feather through to Moores, but he didn't.
I think it's all in the informing them or giving them the knowledge. If you make the Tannoy announcement, that is the century partnership between A and B, and then put it up on the big screen as well, so you can see all the whatever. I think.
You're almost obliged to respond, aren't you?
Yeah. If you're relying on the spectators to work it out for themselves that this pair have now added 50 for the whatever wicket, sometimes it doesn't happen.
Pattinson to Northeast, who will get his first half-century in competitive Glamorgan colours as he runs one down to third man. Everson does the fielding. The roars come in from the daffodil heads away to our right, and the Glamorgan followers elsewhere in the ground. And Northeast 50 off 103 balls and 5 fours.
Yeah, at the crease for just over 2 hours as well. Not done an awful lot wrong, has he, since he got out there.
There was one inside edge, wasn't there, past leg stump off Hutton, and the one that almost carried to Pattinson White at Gully. As Lloyd defends to mid-on, no run. 149 for 2. Glamorgan almost halfway to the Nottinghamshire score. But really, it's been a sort of assured innings from Northeast. He hasn't looked to overhit the ball, has he? Just taking the runs when they've been on offer, and generally good judgment as to when to leave so far.
High quality player, as I said when he walked to the crease, and it didn't jinx him.
Yeah, we did enough jinxing on Labuschagne. Pattinson bowls, and Lloyd off an angled bat steers one down to Pattinson White at Gully. No run. Wicket slightly to the left, so it's a shorter boundary over towards the Fox Road stand, but decent enough. And I think wherever you watch county cricket at this stage of the season, you're quite likely to see the wickets used towards one side of the square. This one not outrageously so by any means. Pattinson bowls, and Lloyd defends it back to him, to a squawk of frustration from the bowler for some reason.
Not sure how many times Derbyshire will have declared their first innings closed in recent time, but 505 for 8 declared Derbyshire against Sussex, whose torture is over, or at least torture with the ball. They've got to go out there and bat now. That's very impressive, isn't it, from Shan Masood, who's settled into the county game. Scored good runs in the first game, and now a big double 100.
Pattinson bowls. Lloyd drives straight to Hamid at cover. No run. 149 for 2. Lloyd 71. Northeast 50.
And of course Sussex have got their own overseas talent. Cheteshwar Pujara and Mohammad Rizwan both making their debuts. So it could be interesting to see how they go on what's presumably a decent track if 505 runs have been churned out in the first 4 sessions.
Quite so. Yeah, Glamorgan will be hoping that Masood has exhausted his stack of runs by the time Glamorgan get there in a couple of weeks' time. Having first faced Middlesex at home at Sapphire Gardens on Thursday, hopefully in more clement temperatures than round 1, where watching, particularly on the first 2 days, was downright unpleasant.
James Pattinson with ball in hand again. 149 for 2. Sam Northeast in the trigger hairs, and he bowls a delivery which is pushed into the offside, fielded by Joey Everson. And there's no run. 149 for 2. Here's the score. Pattinson back for his third 15 across his first 2 spells. Really did explode onto the scene in 2017. Blew Leicestershire away in his first match. He's in again and bowls, and this is just defended on the leg side. Seabermead doing the fielding. It's quite incredible though. This is only his 80th match, and 21 of those, 80th first class match, and 21 of those are tests. Missed a lot of cricket over the years with an assortment of injuries, much like his brother Darren, who of course played cricket for England. An England test cricketer, and his brother's an Australian test cricketer. As James bowls again, nice and full and driven through the offside for 4. Excellent shot. 153 for 2. I think the family hail from Grimsby before the move to Australia. I think James has got a soft spot for Grimsby Town. It's a nice looking shot. North East on to 54, partnership worth 107 now.
Yeah, as we said yesterday, back of a length is fine on this pitch, and occasionally when you overpitch, bowl too full a length, you get punished.
Comes in again, passed on by Chris Watts, bowls to North East, clips it to Seabermead at mid-wicket, and there's no run. Mead always bubbly in the field, effervescent character, always chirping, lifting everybody up, but it's a sort of afternoon where Nottinghamshire will need plenty of that. Need a wicket, and Stephen Mullaney can get them together in a huddle and just try and collectively lift the team. The old mantras will be reeled out. 1 wicket brings 2. Next ball short, cut away, nice stop though, really good work by Liam Pattinson-White at point, and again I think he's hurt his hand. It might just be bouncing off the damage he may or may not have done earlier. He's shaking his finger end, and it's his left hand as well, the left arm finger spinner.
Yeah, Chris Watts, one of the new officials appointed this season when the umpires list has been expanded somewhat.
153 for 2. James Pattinson to Sam North East, again clipped to Mead at mid-wicket, end of the over. Pattinson now through 14 overs, 1 for 57.
With the list having a slightly more diverse look, with the appointment of Mansfield-born Sue Redfern to the list of professional umpires.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's had a game yet or not. I've not really looked round, but you'd imagine so, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. There's a couple of Pakistan-born umpires as well these days. Hassan Adnan and Naeem Ashraf. As a new over sees Lloyd flicking one off his hip for 4 runs down to fine leg. Pattinson just straying slightly. He's been economical so far, just going at 2 runs and over before that particular delivery. And both the Pakistani gentlemen being former first-class cricketers.
Yeah,
Hassan for Derby.
Yeah, he's from these parts. Former Derbyshire man.
Naeem Ashraf in Lahore. And also playing for the National Bank of Pakistan. As Glamorgan moved on to 157 for 2, and Lloyd deflects one off bat and pad down towards square leg. Patterson thought he'd got through on that occasion, but he hadn't. Glamorgan have now past the follow-on.
Rachel says, wonders to self. Are there any Glamorgan supporters here? Has a wander round the ground and Well, it's hard to tell. She sent a photo of that group in the, in the William Clark. There's probably 12 or 14 of them.
In comes Pattinson. Bowls. Lloyd drives slightly uppishly, but safely enough straight to cover. Straight to mid-off, and no run.
Right now, you would say there are higher odds on one of these two getting themselves out than Nottinghamshire getting them out. They're both set. There's no devilment at all in the wicket, and it can only be an error from a batsman chasing one that he shouldn't, or perhaps an inside edge onto his stumps, or leaving a ball alone and paying the price like Labuschagne did. But they both look settled. It seems as if they're going to be very hard to dislodge.
Next delivery sees Lloyd pushing back forward down the wicket to the bowler, who fields in his follow-through. And there's no run. Last season, David Lloyd had 828 runs in first-class cricket, an average of 34.5. One century, which came in the final match when quite a lot of people scored centuries. He's got 121 at the Oval. Pattinson bowls. Lloyd turns on the leg side. We'll get a single out towards the square leg boundary. There is a man out there, and so it is only a single. 158 for 2.
To save me looking, and I should know rather than ask, but did Glamorgan end up in Division 2 or Division 3 in those end of season?
Glamorgan ended up in Division 2. They were third in their conference,
that was it, yeah.
but then plummeted somewhat in September. Lost 3 on the bounce rather badly before that board draw to finish. So they were 6th in Division 2 or 12th in the overall rankings, effectively.
Yeah.
Next ball, down leg side, shouts of catch it. Moore's got gloves to it. It's run away for 4 runs.
Yeah, giving us runs.
So it was technically a chance. They're not going to heap any opprobrium on Moores for missing it.
No, if you go as far as you can go at full stretch and can still only get a fingernail on it, I don't really think it qualifies, but almost. So it was skipper last season then?
Chris Cook.
Yes, that's right.
Did the job for 3 years and decided that was enough. So that he can enjoy the next couple of years as a wicket-keeper batsman. He works hard enough as it is, being a keeper batsman.
Yeah. James Pattinson out of the attack. He's had 6 overs since lunch, unable to prise open the Glamorgan door, and it's going to be Brett Houghton who has bowled overs in the innings so far. 2 last night, 6 this morning, 8 overs, 1 for 30. They were all from the Pavilion end. He's having a go from the Radcliffe Road end now, and he'll be bowling to David Lloyd, the Glamorgan skipper, and that's a wide to begin with. The radar not properly locked on by Brett, and he begins this second spell with a big wide.
Don't see many of those in county championship cricket, do you? A wide outside off stump.
Maybe a double change, and it may again be Stephen Mullaney that's going to come on. It's absolutely switching things round if that's what does happen, because Mullaney bowled from this end, so if he is replacing Pattinson, he'll be going on at the far end. 163 for 2 as Houghton into Lloyd, edge, good catch, Ben Duckett, and Brett Houghton makes the breakthrough, his second big wicket of the day, and David Lloyd falls for 76. Terrific innings from the Glamorgan captain. Can't go through and reach a century though on this particular visit to Trent Bridge, because Ben Duckett has pouched a very good catch there, and you think back to last night when Duckett caught David Lloyd before he'd scored a run. Gets him eventually with 76 to his name, 134 balls faced and 9 fours. Splendid innings from David Lloyd, but he goes and Notts have a bowling bonus point at 163 for 3.
Well, Notts needed that breakthrough, didn't they? David Lloyd looked reasonably well set. He was generally making good decisions about what to go after and what to leave. That one, a ball in that corridor of uncertainty. Probably had to play at it. didn't quite get to it, and the ball went fast off the edge, well pouched by Duckett at slip. This will bring in Kieran Carlson to the wicket in his 50th first-class game for Glamorgan. Last week, innings of 161 against Durham. Was one of the players alongside Chris Cook who helped Glamorgan to avoid defeat on the final day after they'd been 4 down for 66 and still some way in arrears, but he and Cook batted long enough and took Glamorgan into the lead. And Carlson, a player who likes to go at the ball fairly hard, successful of course in the One Day Cup final, Glamorgan's top score of 82 and the winning captain as well. So he'll have positive memories from his last time here.
Certainly will. Played absolutely delightfully on that occasion. Now has the tricky little task here we feel of starting an innings. Obviously, the longer you're at the crease, the more you become acclimatised to the conditions, to the bowlers and whatever. It's just starting when things are afresh, when you can be vulnerable, and that's what we'll hope to cash in. But once again, as at Hove, it's a player down on the ground.
I think it's just a bootlace or something, isn't it?
I think everybody was ready to start, and Dane Patterson's down on the ground. But yeah, he's okay.
Kieran Carlson had the best strike rate in first-class cricket of the recognised Glamorgan batsman last season, 66 runs per 100 balls, fractionally better than Marnus Labuschagne.
So the man they call legend in the Notts dressing room, or ledge, you'll often hear, Brett Hutton, getting the breakthrough, really put in a good shift down at Hove, and on the last day I think he was the one that really made the important inroads into that middle order to accelerate the Sussex demise. And he's got 2 big wickets today. Here he comes to bowl to Kieran Carlson. His first ball wide of the off stump, and Carlson's up. Well, I was going to say he's away. That is terrific from James Pattinson, who's just finished a 6-over spell, given absolutely everything, and then first time he's called on to field, he throws himself full length to his left and pulls off a good stop. I was going to say Carlson's away with a couple of runs at least through the offside. May well have even gone for 4. It was a good looking drive.
Yes, feeling a little frustrated with that, no doubt, Kieran Carlson, but he will look to come at the bowlers if he gets a chance.
Hutton again, 163 for 3 is the score. Bowls and Carlson leaves it alone. So Notts just, at least for the time being, edge ahead on bonus points. 4 they've now got. Glamorgan have got 3, but those batting points will start to accrue in the next half an hour or so.
They hope. Carlson 928 last season at 48. He was potentially in line for 1,000, but had a couple of less productive towards the tail.
Hutton to bowl to him. Right-hander stands bat held aloft, and he's fished at that one. Out there, went chasing that juicy little worm on the end of the hook there. Didn't get anything on it, but it's a little loose from Kieran Carlson. Not a great deal of foot movement. Bat playing away from his body.
Yeah, one of the less tall members of the Glamorgan side needs to work a bit harder to get to the pitch of the ball. But generally his footwork's fairly sound on that occasion.
Brett Hutton started this over with a wide, followed it up with a wicket. Comes in now and another wide-ish delivery. This time Carlson can leave it alone. 1 ball left. Bowled 6 already, but that wide means he's into bonus time here. Partnership was worth 117 in the end between North East and Lloyd for the 3rd wicket. Brett Hutton again. Bowls Carlson. Defence, end of the over. What was the partnership yesterday? Duckett and Mullaney. It was something
116, was it?
Something of a similar order, wasn't it? One of 116 yesterday, 117 today.
Yes, yesterday Glamorgan claimed 2 wickets with Van der Hoogten in mid-afternoon. 2 fell in the first session, as today. Then Nottinghamshire breaking a partnership, as Glamorgan did mid-afternoon. So I wonder how far the parallels will exchange. Wickets falling in the 10th and 47th overs as forward comes northeast to defend on the offside, and there's no run. So 37 overs for that stand of 117, which is fraction under 3 an over. So he's trying to do some mental maths. Or fraction over. £37 times 3, 90, 111. Fraction over 3 runs an over. I'll get there eventually. Use your calculator next time, Webb. Pattinson bowls. Northeast is hit on the pad. Down leg side. No real appeal. As it bounces out to Pattinson. White on the offside.
You want wickets as and when you can get them, and you'll take whoever you can get, but Notts would absolutely love to get Sam Northeast now. We have obviously seen it many times across cricket in the past, a long partnership, and then they both follow each other back. Glamorgan need Northeast to stay there, but Notts could do with him.
Pattinson bowls. Northeast drives gently to Hasib Hamid at cover, no run.
It's just as important that he stays there for 10 overs. If he doesn't score a run, then if he rattles along and gets out quickly and soon, and 2 batsmen are fresh at the crease.
Well, Carlson, if he stays, will score at a decent rate anyway. Chris Cook to come. Callum Taylor at 7. 8, either Nisa or Wheel. 9, whoever's not 8. Pattinson bowls. Northeast plays defensively to mid-on, no run. Van der Hoogten at 10, and Michael Hogan bringing up the rear, as he has virtually every time he's played for Glamorgan. I think there were a couple of games a few years back, maybe when I think it was Lucas Carey had just got into the side when Hogan batted ahead of him, but soon reclaimed his favourite position. Stated in his Twitter biography.
Carey left arm?
No. Northeast defends to mid-on, and there's no run. Glamorgan have been light on left armers. They've got Jamie McIlroy in the squad. He only played the first and last games of last season. And he's in the seconds at the moment. Graham Wagg, of course, provided the left arm stuff of seam and spin, sometimes in the same over for a number of years. Pattinson bowls. Northeast drives to mid-off. No run. Maiden over. So Glamorgan have not scored since the fall of the 3rd wicket. 11 deliveries ago. 163 for 3 it remains.
Judging by the fact there was 1 or 2 clapping, Dane Pattinson there, and Hasib Hamid went over, put his arm round him. That may well be Dane Patterson's work done in that particular spell. I've gone from 35 to 48, 13 overs. So he's had a 7 over spell since lunch. Dane Pattinson, 14 overs, none for 33 his figures, and may well have, in fact he's just gone off the field now for a comfort break, so I think he will have given his all in that particular spell, and maybe we'll have Stephen Mullaney in just a second. Well, Brett Hutton's come tearing in, and Kieran Carlson's backed away. Ben Duckett apologises. I think Ben Duckett was just positioning Calvin Harrison down at long leg. 163 for 3. There's Hutton. Bowls a really good delivery which beats Carlson outside the off stump. 163 for 3. Glamorgan 139 behind. May well be an update for Radio Nottingham in a moment or two. Well, Nottinghamshire have just taken their first wicket of the afternoon session. Really important one as well, because we'd had a century partnership between David Lloyd and Sam Northeast, threatening to take this game away from Notts. Notts, remember, made 302 yesterday at lunch. Glamorgan were 130 for 2. They'd got to 163 for 2 when Brett Hutton was brought back. His first bowl of the afternoon began with a big wide, and his next ball found the outside edge, and Ben Duckett pouched the catch to dismiss David Lloyd, the Glamorgan skipper, for 76. Notts really needed that. They've given their all today with the ball. The wicket, it really is one of those that just offers a little bit to the bowler, and every now and again there's the glimpse. There's an outside edge that just goes wide of the slip cordon, or an inside edge which misses the stumps. They've worked hard, but only the 3 wickets to show at the moment. Notts 302, Glamorgan 163 for 3 in reply.
Kieran Carlson struggling a bit. A couple of plays and misses outside off stump.
Brett Hutton just trying to kiss the outside edge. Does again send it down. Carlson solidly behind this one and defends. Wickets going down at 41, 46 and then 163. 2 of them to Brett Hutton, 1 to James Pattinson. I think it's very evident that Stephen Mullaney, who had a little spell this morning, is going to come in the next over. Find out for sure in 2 overs, in 2 balls time. Edge dropped. Third slip. Asiba Mead has put it down, and Kieran Carlson has a life on naught, and slip catchers go. That one was, I guess, one of the easier. He's right-handed. Asiba Mead, he was going slightly to his left, but got both hands to it at a very catchable height, and down it went. And that's, well, I'm sure would have heard the groan from the spectators, and that would have been mirrored out on the field, because Notts have worked hard, as I was just saying there to Radio Nottingham. Not quite had the rewards they would have hoped, and they can't afford to squander chances, but Carlson has been dropped on naught. Here's Hutton in again, the unlucky bowler. It's bowled, and well, they're all appealing, but bat and pad. Brett Hutton wasn't too involved in that orchestrated appeal. Good applause for Brett Hutton. Kieran Carlson breathes a sigh of relief. He's faced 11 balls, he's not out, but that's the important thing, he's not out.
Yes, he's been dropped and beaten several times. It really is a jittery start from young Kieran Carlson, 23 years old, but playing his 50th first-class match for the county. And probably 1 or 2 for Cardiff Universities in there as well, although he didn't play that much for them because he was on Glamorgan's books. Mullaney then, 4 overs, 0 for 15. We'll try and lead from the front, and Carlson be very keen to get off the mark, because he's had some nervy moments already. Now, Mullaney's field that he's set for himself includes 2 slips in the form of Clark and Duckett, a backward point, a deep cover point, a cover, mid-off, mid-on, as Mullaney bowls to northeast, who plays that one to Everson at backward point, stroke deep gully, and just one other fielder apart from his mid-on on the leg side is looking down in case there was one hidden from us, but the man at deep backward square is covering an awful lot of ground. 7-2 field.
No, there's 3.
Oh, sorry,
on the leg side.
I've missed someone.
Yeah,
there we are. Sorry. As Northeast plays on the offside, hidden by the white seats, there's a man at a mid-wicket. I thought it was an odd field.
Yeah,
just in front of the Glamorgan followers flag. There we are. There's a Glamorgan daft flag.
You know, he's bowling outside the off stump and just trying to shape it away a little bit and try and catch the outside edge. There shouldn't be too many opportunities for it to be deflected down to long leg. I think they can. I think quite rightly they can do without a fielder there.
As the next delivery is defended by North East, a very quiet period since the fall of the wicket. Glamorgan have not added.
Apart from the drop. Brian David's been in touch, says, Dave, very good to hear you again and to see a sunny Trent Bridge. I'm also delighted to see Dane Pattinson back. He seems a very committed and intelligent cricketer, and touch wood seems to have conquered the slight no ball problem he had last year. Best wishes, Brian. Thanks very much for getting in touch, Brian.
Mullaney bowls, and North East with a flick of the wrist turns it up towards that deep mid wicket and wanders through for a single, the first in this partnership. Caden on Twitter says Morgan should be going for around 400 here. Could have done with a few more from Marnus. Oh well. We shall wait for potential second innings delights from Glamorgan's Australian star.
Yes, there was a number of times yesterday when I said Notts were seemingly on course towards 400.
Yeah.
Probably said it to about 258 for 4, and we know what happened then.
Bish bash bosh, 6 wickets in a session. And would have been worse if it hadn't been for that last wicket partnership. Mullaney in right arm medium, and Carlson will get off the mark with a little angled bat, something of a tentative jab, but it was safely run down towards third man, and they've gone through for 2 runs as Everson goes back from gully to field. So Carlson will feel a little bit better for that, getting off the mark with the 12th delivery that he'd faced, having been dropped by Hamid off Hutton before he'd scored. Mullaney having a little chat, discussing his potential field placings.
First and second slip, Clark and Duckett have just, for reasons best known to themselves, swapped positions.
Mullaney in bowls. Carlson drives through the covers. That's more like the Kieran Carlson that Glamorgan supporters love. It may just reach the ropes. It's tapped back. Umpire signalled 4.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. They usually ask the fielders. Not sure if Hamid would have known whether, but it did look as though he was in contact with the rope and the ball at the same time. And Mr. Illingworth from 60 metres away said, "That's 4, matey." First boundary to Carlson. Glamorgan 170 for 3. I think radio listeners in Wales are due another 30 seconds of my time.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, Mr. Illingworth, whatever Nick said, 60 metres away. I think we're more than 100 metres away, but it did look as if the ball and the player were in contact with the boundary, if not over the boundary. 170 for 3 is the score. Glamorgan then 30 runs away from a first batting bonus point. I think we've had Joey Everson dropped on naught in this game, and then he actually went for naught. We had David Lloyd dropped on naught off a no ball, and now we've had Kieran Carlson dropped on naught. Here's Brett Hutton bowling to North East, who's been starved of the strike for a while, but now gets it and then relinquishes it by taking a single on the leg side. 10 to 3 or so in the UK, with 18 overs to go until the tea break, so we're right in the midst of this second afternoon. Notts will need a really strong period at some point if they're to have a first innings lead. Seems as if Glamorgan are going to swallow them up, but for the time being, Hutton bowling to Carlson gets another run here, working it down to long leg. 172 for 3. Carlson has 7, North East 60. The men out: Lloyd in card order, Lloyd 76, Salter 16, Labuschagne 3, but David Lloyd was the most recent one to be dismissed. Lovely conditions as Brett Hutton comes in to bowl. This is forced away, at least a couple on the offside. Liam Pattinson-White doing the fielding. And, takes him on to 62. 174 for 3. Elsewhere, I can tell you that Somerset's joy at bowling Essex out this morning for 180, limiting their first innings advantage to 71, short-lived. They've already lost 2 second innings wickets. Somerset, they're 23 for 2. Could be a 2-day game there. The way that's going along. 174 for 3. Next ball is beating North East outside the off stump. He pushed at that one, but didn't get an edge as it just made its way into the gloves of Tom Moores. Kent are now batting at Canterbury. Lancashire 506 all out in Division 2. Sussex are now batting at Derby after Derbyshire declared on 505 for 8. Derbyshire 26 without loss. And Leicestershire batting against Durham. They're 34 without loss, replying to Durham's 4-8. All the scores and the live text updates on the BBC Sport website as North East gets forward, pushes it up to Pattinson at mid-off. Nottinghamshire losing their way latter part of yesterday, the first part of the evening session, as North East runs this away down to deep backward square for another single. 175 for 3. He'll keep strike at the end of the over. In the position they were in, they should certainly have got more than 302. And now they're desperately trying to they are numerically 127 behind. Just everything tells you that Glamorgan are on top and they're heading towards a first innings advantage. Of course, that could all change, but right now everything sort of tells you, common sense tells you, this is a strong position to be in response to 302. Stephen Mullaney is going to continue from the pavilion end.
I don't think chickens will be counted quite yet, and the Welsh supporting part of our listenership and viewership. As Mullaney continues from the pavilion end, with Moores standing up to the stumps against the medium pacer, and North East drives, but straight to mid-off. No run. Hasib Hamid has come quite close in at Shoreditch extra for the mistimed drive on the offside.
He'll be going through that drop in his mind. Human nature, isn't it, to replay it. Mullaney
into bowl. North East with a little turn of the wrist. Carlson wanted a single. North East sent him back. There's a misfield. There would have been an easy single there, but North East wasn't to know that, and being of more mature years than Carlson, he's less enthusiastic.
Nottsworthy recipient of a batting mishap down at Hove. A couple of players got into a right old tiz was, and Dan Ibrahim was run out by a direct hit from Liam Pattinson-White.
As North East drives into the offside and takes a single, 176 for 3. Wasn't his game, was it? Because he was, didn't he miss the second innings through injury,
he did,
Ibrahim?
Indeed, yeah. He ended up with one of them was running 2 and one of them was running 3, and they ended up with Ibrahim diving for the crease, but he couldn't beat the direct hit from Liam Pattinson-White.
As the next delivery is off an inside edge from Carlson down towards fine leg. Carlson will call North East back for the second. He knew he was running to the danger end, and these two are going to have to get on the same wavelength running wise.
Now, whether in diving to try and make his ground, he damaged his shoulder, but when Notts batted, it came out and then disappeared, and then we heard he'd take no further part in the game because of a shoulder injury. So.
Mullaney bowls, Carlson stretches forward, 178 for 3. Looking down at my notes from the last game, these two did not bat together against Durham because North East was third man out on each occasion. So just the pre-season games to call on as Carlson drives to deep cover, and they'll wander through for the single, 179 for 3. Glamorgan, I think, surprised by the fact that there were 6 days pretty much out of 6 in pre-season played, against 2 against Somerset, 2 against Gloucestershire and 2 of an intra-squad game. So the game against the University, which is quite often close to the starting side for the Championship, they actually rested most of them, which was unusual, and Carlson led what was largely a fringe 11. Oh, another bit of lovely sunshine. What a shame it's not heading our way. In the commentary, vantage point.
It's pleasant enough if it stays like this until 6 o'clock. We won't complain. Going to be Brett Hutton to continue. This is an impressive spell. He's removed David Lloyd and should have had Carlson. He's got another chance to bowl at Glamorgan number 5, both literally in that he's got number 5 on his back, and figuratively that he's come in at the fall of the 3rd wicket. 179 for 3 as this one's played up to Mullaney.
Also number 5.
Yep.
And quite often number 5, I presume, in the batting order, although 6 in this game.
He's been 6 the last 2 or 3, well, almost since assuming the captaincy. Right. Shuttled up and down the order. Of course, he had a spell as an opener for a while, as this has pushed out as far as Pattinson, and there's no run. Made his debut in 2010 for Notts at number 8 and started with a century, which is best possible way to kick off after he moved from Lancashire.
Yeah, David Lloyd, the Glamorgan skipper, has been all over the place in the order. I think he batted at 10 once, though, and there was a night watchman. He was down to bat at 9 anyway. 3
slips. Clark at 1, Duckett at 2, Hamid in there again at 3. Down the leg side, it's going to be 4 runs. Was it bat or pad? I think it was off the pad. Yeah, Chris Watts, the umpire, tickles the right knee. Only 14 extras. It seems like we've had rather more than that, but only 14 extras. 183 for 3 is the score. It's just losing his line a little bit there, Brett Hutton.
Yes, if that hit anything on the way through, it was liable to fly away for 4. And although it wasn't bat from Carlson, it's still 4 on the total.
And comes Hutton again. Balls to Carlson. Solidly behind this one. The full face of the bat plays it to mid-wicket.
Nottinghamshire over 8 has now joined Glamorgan on -1. I'm not sure if we've remarked upon that.
No, but I just noticed it, and we're 16 overs away from tea, and it's 3 o'clock. So, like yesterday, we're going to be there or thereabouts 4 o'clock, aren't we?
Yeah, I think yes. Had a bit of commentary after my 4 o'clock bulletin report.
183 for 3. Hutton bowls, and a mistimed drive from Kieran Carlson on this occasion. Chris Cook doing next, who, as we mentioned a couple of times yesterday, scored a century when these sides met in Cardiff back in 2017, batted all the final day with Colin Ingram. And then a little bit of an unknown as far as Nottinghamshire concerned. Callum Taylor won't have played against them before. James Wales certainly has for both Durham and Leicester. And then the 3 bowlers, Nisa, Van der Houten and Hogan, down at the bottom, who are all capable of sticking round and frustrating an attack, desperate to get in and get their feet up. Here's Hutton in again. Bowles struck him on the had. Going to be another leg by, would have just done too much, and another leg by signals the end of that over. 184 for 3. Brett Hutton 12 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 36, and he's put in a decent shift again so far.
Yeah, Michael Nisa, born in Pretoria, South Africa, like Labuschagne, changing countries at a young age before thoughts of a professional career, presumably. Plays for Queensland alongside Labuschagne these days. May just dislodge Wheel from the number 8 position. Didn't see an order. And Van der Hoogten, who can stick or strike, and Michael Hogan, who prefers striking to sticking.
Bowling change, Joey Everson, who bowled 5 overs this morning. He's going to come on from the pavilion end. See if he can get a golden arm tag.
Not that many people abbreviate Joseph to Joey, do they? Not that many famous Joeys outside friends. Anyway, here he comes. Bowls, shorts, and Carlson misses out slightly there as he tried to get on top of it and hit it down into the ground. Hamid with a good scrambling stop at cover.
There's that Essex fella, isn't there?
Oh, gosh. Yes, that's not on my TV schedule.
No, nor mine, but...
Yes, I'd forgotten about him. Thanks for reminding me. 184 for 3. Everson into his 6th over, and that's defended by Carlson down to backward point. My initial thought was, is there a famous cricketer from Essex called Joey? But yes, a non-reality TV star. Unreality TV. Well, I have no idea whether he's still in it or not. 184 for 3. With Glamorgan having lost Salter for 16, Labuschagne for 3 and Lloyd for 76. Everson to Carlson, who uppishly plays that one wide of backward point. It's a sliding stop by Pattinson on the 3rd man boundary. Carlson is back for a couple of runs. Wasn't the safest shot in the world because it was at catchable height when it flew past that man at backward point.
Yeah, as he hit it, I thought he did it straight to Liam Patterson-White. As it turns out, it's 10 feet to his left, but just the angle we were looking at, I thought he'd thrown his wicket away.
Carlson onto 12, 186 for 3. Everson bowls and beats Carlson through to the gloves of Moores. Frustration for the Nottinghamshire bowlers as Glamorgans have reduced the deficit to 116 runs with 7 wickets still in hand, but on Nottinghamshire's experience on day 1, they won't be confident of getting a first innings lead until they get to somewhat closer than this. Everson bowls. Carlson plays another uppish shot through the offside, and this time I think he'll pick up 4 runs as that one flew between cover and point, but he's not timing it correctly, even though he's scoring, Kieran Carlson. It's 190 for 3.
Stephen Mullany just had 2 overs from the pavilion and went for 12 runs, came out of the attack, put Joey Everson on, and Everson's gone for 6 already in this over.
He's tantalising the fielders at the moment, Kieran Carlson. As in very pleasant sunshine, Everson is into bowl and Carlson plays defensively to Hamid at cover, who slings the ball in the direction of Liam Patterson-White, but I don't think the spinner is going to get his second chance of twirling.
He's the ball polisher, so you'll notice pretty much after every delivery somebody will throw the ball to him to start working on. His flannels a mixture of the green grass stains where he's dived and smears of red down both sides where he's been polishing the ball.
You wouldn't have thought that would be a specialist art, would you? We're polishing the ball. I mean, as long as you get the right side.
Yeah,
then surely anyone can do it.
Yeah, but they can't, can they? You know, you find one that really does make it an art form, and he's the one in the Notts team. Michael Lunn, when he played, he was always a keen ball polisher, would always want the ball after every delivery, and
yeah, Carlson does a lot of it for Glamorgan.
Here's Brett Hutton, starting his 13th over, 190 for 3. Bowls, and I thought he'd nick that. He bowled to North East, it's gone through to Tom Moores. Nobody as animated as I was about to maybe. I felt sure I heard a nick, but clearly not. It was a ball in a good area that Sam North East pushed at.
Elsewhere in Division 2, Durham 428 all out, Leicestershire 44 for 2 for naught off 22 overs, slow but solid.
Hutton in again to Sam North East, and this one just a little closer to a leg stump line so he can deflect it down to long leg to Pattinson. Another single, 191 for 3. 9 more will bring the first batting point. Derbyshire declared at 505 for 8 after that double century by their new opener Masood. Sussex in reply 42 for no wicket in the 9th over. Sounds like a decent track at Derby as well. Yeah. Decent couple of young openers they've got there. Tom Haynes, the skipper, and Alistair Orr. And then Pujara and Rizwan to come. Tom Clark, who got 100 against Notts last week, has Hutton bowls again. And once more a play and a miss. This time Kieran Carlson pushing hard at it. Notts have been a little unlucky, and lo and behold, when they do find the outside edge, as happened with Kieran Carlson, down went the chance. It was Seba Mead who spilled him. $191 for 3.
Yes, all got 80 against Glamorgan last season for Sussex.
Decent spell this from Hutton. Bowls again, and as soon as I say that, he's driven through the offside for 4. Desperately trying to just find the outside edge, but that one came off the middle, and well, they're dancing in the valleys.
No, Dave.
They're dancing in the William Clark stand as well. 195 for 3. No success for the Welsh boys in the darts last night. Had a watch of that. Both Gerwyn Price and Johnny Clayton exiting the semi-final stage. James Pattinson's fetched the ball, and he's had a look at it, and he's thrown it to the umpire, suggesting it might be damaged, but umpire Chris Watts says that's perfectly fine. Have it back and get on with it. But whether Pattinson was just showing it to the umpire as a matter of courtesy, just knowing it had gone into the wall, or whether he felt it should be changed, umpire gave him short shrift. Hutton bowls, more runs, at least 2, way on the leg side. Joey Everson's after it. The ball being willed to the ropes by the Daffodils. 197 for 3. Carlson 22, North East 65. There is a possibility, of course, that this group of Welsh supporters haven't travelled for this game. They're remnants that are still left here in Nottingham from the Royal London One Day Cup final. There were plenty here last year celebrating. Might just have resurfaced from a lengthy session under that William Clark concourse.
That would be a sesh.
Carlson has 22. Hutton bowls to him and leaves it alone. Tom Moore stops it. That's the best we can say for it. It died on him. Gets the pads there to make sure it didn't go through. 197 for 3. I think one more tap of the bat and Glamorgan will be in the bonus points.
There's a bit of Welsh interest in the snooker that you mentioned. Starting tomorrow, Jamie Jones and Jamie Clark among those into early morning action at 10 o'clock. Not sure snooker ought to be played at 10 o'clock in the morning. Jackson Page youngster in the afternoon, and on Sunday the all Welsh clash between Mark Williams and Michael White starts in the afternoon. I think it's 8 Welsh players in all in the World Championship. Plenty of coverage via the BBC, of course. There's Everson into bowl to northeast, who turns that one through the leg side for for a single. Plenty of space to operate in. North East ticking along quietly, unobtrusively. 66 off 131 deliveries. Better run every other ball.
So this is relatively early, of course. His second Glamorgan game, he's got 66. Had 2 games for Notts, as I said earlier, and his highest score was 65.
Everson bowls. Carlson is caught behind, fishing at one outside off stump, and no doubt about that one as Moores tossed it triumphantly in the air. Carlson has gone for a slightly jittery 22. We saw a couple of flashes of his better form, but having been dropped on naught, he hasn't taken huge advantage, and Glamorgan are 4 down for 198.
First wicket of the season for Joey Everson. Didn't have an awful lot of luck down at Hove, and out for naught yesterday. Now gets the... It's impossible to hear the nick or obviously see it straight away in real time, but almost before the ball hit the gloves, I could see Carlson just jerk his head round. It's often a giveaway that he's nicked it. He really did jerk his head round dramatically just to follow the flight of it and hope upon hope that Moores put it down, and Everson was punching the air with joy. Kieran Carlson out for 22. The new man is Chris Cook, who broke Nottinghamshire hearts in a lot of ways in 2017 at Cardiff. On that last day, they bowled themselves into the ground, and I think they bowled you and I into the ground the entire day without a wicket. It was quite extraordinary.
Yeah, I think Stuart Broad was probably rather weary by the end of it. I think he bowl about 30 overs, 0 for 50 or something.
I can't remember.
It was a long stint anyway, as Nottinghamshire looked to press home what seemed an likely victory going into the 4th day. Glamorgan's last victory here was as long ago as 1998, mind you, 15 years since they played a championship game here, when Glamorgan won by 46 runs with a century from one Steve James, who I hope will tear himself away from his test match scribblings to favour us with a few words of wisdom on BBC Wales airwaves.
The last century before since Glamorgan won here.
Cook, Chris Cook at the wicket. 2 slips as he takes guard. Point remains out towards the boundary.
Wobble time, isn't it? You know, he's got to play himself in again. Gives Notts an opportunity to have a go at the new man.
As in comes Everson, bowls to that new man, Cook, who drives back the bowler, gets a hand to it in the follow-through. North East pivots round to regain his crease at the non-striker's end.
Day following a very similar pattern to yesterday, isn't it, really?
2 wickets in the afternoon so far. 2 in the morning. That was what we had yesterday.
Partnership 100. Yeah. Was it 116 yesterday? 117 today.
Yeah, Nottinghamshire with plenty of time to add before the tea interval in the wickets column as Cook blocks one to mid-on. And there is no run. Where are we tea-wise? 13 overs to come.
4 o'clock.
Let's hope the scones aren't all snaffled by the denizens of the written media 2 floors below us in the press box.
Well, you can nip down whenever you want, mate. Make sure you get one. My treat to you.
Very kind, but I'll try and be a bit more professional than that. As Cook plays that one out into the offside, thinks about a single to get off the mark. Hamid has other ideas. My waistline will not suffer too much if my scone is delayed by
it's always nice
half an hour.
Cakes at Sapphire Gardens, isn't there?
Yeah, they've gone back to the cakes at tea this season.
Welsh cakes.
having had a couple of years where we didn't get tea.
Stand by, I'm coming in July.
Tee him up, boys. As that's down leg side, Cook tries to work it away. There's a shout just in case from Moores, but no appeal from the bowler. 199 for 4. Applause from the Trent Bridge crowd for Everson's first wicket of the season. He has 1 for 24 off 7, and Glamorgan are 1 away from a first batting bonus point.
Always think it's a little unnecessary to have, you know, C Cook on the board when he's the only Cook playing in the game, but I guess it's logged into the system.
198 for 4. They'd given him a single for some reason that he didn't have.
The wicket fell at 198 for 4.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's not faced the ball. So anyhow, here's Hutton to bowl to Northeast S, and Sam Northeast will push it onto the leg side. There'll only be a single. Just had a look with the binoculars. Smaller, huge numbers, huge red numbers, which talked about yesterday. I admire those numbers. The writing a little smaller, but just had a look with the binoculars, and it does say C Cook. I guess it's a little unfortunate if there's a player of the same name at whichever county.
Well, there's Joe Cook, who's in the side
yes,
for half of last season, so it's understandable.
We had obviously James Taylor. We, as in Notts, had James Taylor and Brendan Taylor here at the same time. Next ball is outside the off stump, and Cook had a little push at it. Mark Modelang's just taken a photograph of his scone yesterday that he had here at Trent Bridge. It's one of those. In years gone by, obviously we haven't had press refreshments for the last couple of years in COVID times, but in years gone by they would bring in all the freshly cooked scones, still warm, smelling absolutely delicious, into the press box as Hutton would come in. This is through to the keeper. They would bring in little pots of jam, and they would bring in a dish full of clotted cream, and help yourself job now.
DIY, Devon or Cornwall.
Well, this is where I'm going. But yesterday I noticed, you will also, back me up, that I didn't have one.
No.
But yesterday I noticed it was already prepared. With its lid on, the jam and the cream were already on the scone. So yeah, I had to turn it upside down if it wasn't how you like it. Next ball, wide of the off peg, but it jagged back and was close enough for Tom Moores to yelp out in anguish as it just missed, clipping off the off bail. 199 for 4.
Yes, I shan't complain whichever way round they're prepared.
No, they are good, but I'm not going down that slippery slope again. Otherwise, end up having one every tea time, and there we are.
It'll save on BBC X's if I don't eat an evening meal.
To bowl to Chris Cook, who stays on naught. There's been one or two batsmen in this game that have taken a while to get off the mark. Cook has now faced 8 deliveries. Taylor in next, and then either Wheel or Nisa, then either Wheel or Nisa, and then Van der Houten and Hogan. 199 for 4. Glamorgan have wickets intact at stumps this evening. They'll have had a very good day indeed. Hutton to bowl to Cook, push into the offside. There's no run.
Indeed, we've got a full 44 overs remaining today, which suggests that Glamorgan haven't always been known for their longevity at the wicket. Tended to get on with things in recent seasons and score quickly or get bowled out quickly. But Chris Cook is a player of quite a few gears. Interesting that he first came into the Glamorgan side a decade ago when came over from South Africa and played a bit of club cricket in Hampshire, which saw him picked up by Glamorgan. But he initially was largely a one-day player, a very dashing one-day player, and a boundary fielder. As Everson bowls to northeast, 2 turns one down to fine leg for a single, and that is Glamorgan's first bonus point, 200 for 4.
Yep, nicely done. Notts were in a similar position yesterday. Couldn't make the most of it, out for 302, 200 for 4. On the Chris Cook thing, just before COVID, so that winter, Samit Patel and I went down to Littlehampton Cricket Club in Sussex and did. We had a night down there with them, a bit of fun with Samit and asked them all the questions and everything. Really good fun.
Everson bowls and Cook nibbles at that one as it goes through another. He didn't.
And on the wall in there is a Chris Cook Glamorgan signed shirt. He played club cricket for Littlehampton in Sussex. I don't know whether he played in Hampshire as well, but but certainly down there he was a favoured son.
From Western Province days originally, as Cook is on the defensive there, but very much a Glamorgan stalwart. Is living over here permanently now. He's got a Welsh wife and a couple of children born here. His wife Nick played netball for Wales, so should be good sporting genes among their offspring. 200 for 4 Glamorgan, 102 runs behind. Everson into bowl and Cook is out, caught behind in very similar manner to Kieran Carlson. He waited for a finger from umpire Illingworth, but there was no doubt, and 2 Glamorgan batsmen have fallen in quick succession in the same manner, and Chris Cook has gone without scoring. 12 balls he faced, and he, like Kieran Carlson, has caught Moore's bowled Everson. 200 for 5. Game very much back in the balance.
Yeah, just what we've sort of been saying. It's all about getting in, isn't it? And you're very vulnerable your first 2 or 3 overs. Chris Cook there, 10 minutes, 12 balls faced, caught behind, and from the bowling side, whichever side is in the field, it's just about finding the right man at the right time. And we saw Van der Houten yesterday afternoon pick up a couple of wickets in quick succession, and Notts have turned to Joey Everson here as I think 5th choice in this session. Pattinson, Hutton and Mullaney all had a bowl before Joey Everson came on, and he's struck now in consecutive overs as Callum Taylor makes his way to the middle.
Newport born, but largely bred in Australia. A little bit of an Aussie Gwent crossover accent. Came into the first team a couple of years ago. Century on debut with a 6 at Northampton. Last week against Durham, went cheaply in the first innings for 11, made 23 not out in the closing stages to help block out the draw alongside Chris Cook, but that's Chris Cook's first failure of the season because he made 59 and 85 not outs last week. That's the nature of cricket.
It is indeed. Joey Everson's figures look remarkably better at 2 for 24 now.
So the young 20-year-old seamer, 14 wickets last season in the championship. Century last week against Sussex, so already showing his merit with bat and ball as Callum Taylor leaves outside off stump, and that Taylor leave had something of the Labuschagne leave about it, with what looks like a pull shot.
And a Seba Mead, a little bit of a flourish, almost like Zorro finishing off his his trademark zzz.
I am not playing that ball, so there. Taylor then faces up to Everson. 2 wickets in successive overs for Everson, who bowls a full toss. That wasn't quite a no ball, but Taylor might have been taken by surprise. He managed to play it safely enough back down the wicket. 200 for 5, Glamorgan at the end of the over. The applause once more recognises the wicket-taking feat of Joey Everson.
Yeah, if you're in the side as an all-rounder, you've always got an opportunity. If you miss out with the bat, you might get some wickets with the ball, and vice versa. He got runs at Hove last week, and he's picked up 2 important wickets here just when the well seemed to have dried up everywhere else. So we're grateful for Joey Everson. Also Brett Hutton, he's got 2 wickets as well. 1 to James Pattinson. Going to be Hutton to start his 15th over, 2 for 44. Bowls to Sam Northeast, who remains there. Doesn't look terribly inconvenienced at the crease, Sam Northeast.
Just trying to work out whether we're likely to see another Pattinson burst with the old ball, because they want to give him time to recover, to take the new ball if they need it, that is. They might not need it, of course, if they claim 5 wickets in the next 22 overs.
There goes Hutton. Bowls left alone. Yeah, Glamorgan didn't seem to worry that much about the second new ball, because we were seeing Michael Neser bowling through the late 60s, early 70s yesterday afternoon, weren't we? And he got reward. Indeed,
it was Hogan and Labuschagne who really set it up, though.
Hogan, yes, Hogan.
With the was the closing overs of the old ball, and then Neser finished it off with the new one.
Yep. Hutton bouncer left alone, fairly harmless.
It was a rather ballooning bouncer, wasn't it? Northeast had a little glance towards Mr. Illingworth at square leg, just in case it was judged over shoulder height. But it was probably pretty harmless for Northeast, upon whom much rests if Glamorgan are to get a first innings lead now.
Was 198 for 3, it's now 200 for 5. Just trying to force their way through the middle and into the lower order. Single taken here as Northeast adds another single to his tally. Moves on to 69, 201 for 5. So Glamorgan 101 behind now.
One does indeed bring 2, as you will hear on most cricket fields of whatever standard throughout the country, whether it's true or not.
Well, as you pointed out yesterday, 1 brought 4.
Yes.
4 went down very, very quickly indeed. It's dampened the enthusiasm of the daffodils for the time being. They've all sat down again. 201 for 5. As Brett Hutton bowls to Taylor, hit him on the pad, and Brett Hutton's very confident. Chris Watts, the umpire, isn't now. Brett Hutton was backing away, looking at the umpire, and then he's having a bit of a laugh and a joke about it. He reached down to his right shin as if he'd done some damage. Almost went over on his ankle, but as I say, he pointed at it and said, "I nearly toppled over there."
Decent appeal. Might just have got outside the line, but certainly worth an inquiry. It's almost a broad-style celeb appeal.
Yep. I'm going to turn the effects mic up here for a second as he bowls. Yep. The grunt is there today from Brett Hutton. This one's drilled up to mid-off, end of the over. 201 for 5. Glamorgan today, they've lost Salter for 16, Labuschagne for 3, Lloyd 76, Carlson 22, and Chris Cook wasn't his day, the Glamorgan wicketkeeper, in and out for 0.
Yes, where the Glamorgan public address announcer Andrew Hignell tell when someone's dismissed for naught, because Dr. Hignell just gives the mode of dismissal, and being a gentlemanly sort, he doesn't rub it in and saying, "Cook out for naught." He just saying, "Cook, caught Moore's bowled Everson." By omission. Did not trouble the scorers, as they say. Nick Webb 2017 or Brace Cricket, if you wish to communicate with us via Twitter, as North East flicks one down in the offside, but it's fielded by Pattinson White in that somewhat in between backward point come gully position, but it's been he's been well stationed there.
Almost short third as well.
Yes, he's retreated a couple of metres and gone a bit finer from where he was earlier. There's Everson. And there's 2-wicket spell. He's into bowl to North East, who plays him solidly off the back foot to Hamid at cover. And there is no run. The sun shining off a couple of shaven heads away to our right leads us to the conclusion. Harrison are out for their afternoon constitutional.
Charlie's had a good look at that Hutton LBW shout. I'll tell you what he had to say after this delivery.
Everson bowls and North East steps back, slaps it into the offside. Timed it quite nicely, but it's fielded by Pattinson, who is doing some sweeping duties out on the cover boundary, and he keeps them down to a single with an enthusiastic throw that Moore has to parry before collecting.
Of course, if you've got more time on your hands than we have, you can look
Freeze
back
frame
and watch
things,
it in and watch it in and whatever. And Charlie says, all I can say, Dave, is that if there were DRS, there would definitely have been 3 red lights on that LBW shout. Mr. Taylor, very lucky indeed. Thanks, Charlie.
Callum Taylor yet to score as Everson bowls to him, and he leaves it go outside off stump. And there's no run. Well, Glamorgan batsmen are struggling to get their first run, several of them. Lloyd was caught off the no ball before he'd scored. Carlson was dropped before he'd scored. And
Cook didn't score.
Cook didn't score, and Taylor has yet to score. Everson in to bowl to Taylor. Now he has scored with 4. Best possible riposte from Callum Taylor with a neat flick through mid-wicket, nicely timed because the ball raced away, and Stephen Mullaney relies on the good grace of the nearest spectator to lob it back to him as he stood halfway back to the boundary and said, "Thank you." 206 for 5. Wasn't allowed last season, of course. The players had to try and dissuade the spectators from lobbing it back.
Yep.
Everything had to be sanitised. Everson to Taylor, who will get more runs here. I think a couple through square leg. Coming back comfortably enough for the second run.
Yes, how quickly we forget. Every 6 overs they would go off and sanitise their hands, and they, as you say, the ball would need to be wiped every time it went into the stands. And
it was meant to happen at club level as well.
Yeah.
And we didn't always remember. 208 for 5. And in fact, I think first week I was doing a spot of umpiring and say, "Excuse me, boys, I suppose we'd better sanitise if you don't mind terribly much," but didn't entirely last.
This could be good. It is going to be James Pattinson back to try and improve on his figures of 1 for 57. So it's not going to be an easy passage through until the tea break for the Glamorgan batsman. Just one slip in at the moment. Joe Clark nattering to the skipper. I presume he'll wander back. Yeah, he's going to. So there will be 2 slips. Clark at first, Duckett at second. There's a third man down there. There's a long leg also down there behind square. Fielder either side. And then an extra cover, a mid-on and a mid-off. Calvin Harrison is on the field as a sub-fielder, so who's gone off? Maybe Brett Hutton, who's just finished his spell. That would make common sense. And James Pattinson says, "I'm not going to run in from Brett's bowling, Mark. Where's the disc?" And goes and fetches it. 208 for 5, Glamorgan, with Sam North East on strike on 70 David Lloyd, top scorer so far with 76. Here's Pattinson to northeast, and the first ball's bounce, and it was still going up as Tom Moore took it high above his right shoulder on the bounce.
Been a good pitch for the faster bowlers, hasn't it? Good carry through to the keeper.
Yep, if you bend your back, you're prepared to put the effort in, you'll get your reward.
Quite a lot going through chest high. Reverse hands to take.
First signs of floodlight pylon shadow as one of the floodlights away to our right. The shadow just descends over the boundary. Next ball is, Tom Moores has taken the catch. James Pattinson celebrating, but nobody else at all heard or saw anything.
Was a bit of deviation, wasn't there? I thought from this distance that it might well be a catch, but keeper didn't go up, so presume not.
Some northeast wondering what all the fuss was about. Would be a huge wicket for Notts to get right now.
Yeah, if they get northeast soon, they'd be favourites, I would suggest, to have a first innings lead.
Encouragement for Pato. Here he comes again. 208 for 5. Pattinson bowls to northeast. This one's wide of the mark.
Not going to get much joy bowling out there.
Good crowd, good conditions, absolutely idyllic cricket watching weather. And dare I say, we've had some very good cricket to watch as well.
It's been a good contest, hasn't it? Ups and downs, twos and fro's, ebbs and flows.
Very much enjoyed the match so far as Pattinson bowls to northeast and make sure there's no danger there. He almost trapped the ball as he rocked forward and blocked it.
Wickets continuing to tumble at Taunton. They're liable to have a day off, if not 2 days off there. Somerset 56 for 4 in their second innings, still 15 behind Essex, who were bowled out for 180 earlier today.
2-day finish on the cards, as you say. 208 for 5. Still got 8 overs to go until the tea break. James Pattinson bowls, and North East has tried to cut this away, and he has got it down to third man off the bottom edge, and will make his way down to the sanctuary of the non-strikers end.
Yeah, he wanted to make fully sure that that had gone past the gully fielder there, as Callum Taylor was darting down the wickets. North East trying to be there for the long term, and that doesn't include any over-sharp attempt at singles.
Stuck it at second slip, and as you say, he'd got round to a gully position even before it went through there. It just trickled its way, and now an extra slip has been brought in for the relatively new arrival, Callum Taylor, and that's a Seba Mead, who will have been very pleased to see Kieran Carlson dismissed because he dropped him on naught. Pattinson bowls, now an LBW appeal asking Chris Carlson, and Pattinson, a little bit of theatre, would obviously have known it was the last ball of the over, and he sinks down onto his backside and then all the way down onto the ground to appeal, to implore the umpire to give it, but he didn't, and there's smiles all round. He knew it was the last ball of the over, and he knew he'd got a little bit of luxury time there to enjoy that appeal. 209 for 5.
Chris Watts saying I may be new onto the senior list, but I'm not falling for that one, Sunshine. As from Taylor's shot, it looked as though the ball was shaping down leg side. 209 for 5 then, 8 overs until the tea interval, as Joey Golden Arm Everson, 2 for 31 from the pavilion end, and played away on the offside by North East for a comfortable single as he moves on to 72 not out. Glamorgan 210 for 5, 92 runs behind.
Tell you what, you've done a bit of umpiring. Chris Watts has got the best view in the house, hasn't he, of James Pattinson bowling quickly. Really has.
Yes, I've done probably more than my fair share of umpiring, I'd suggest, over my inglorious playing career. 210 for 5. Everson in to bowl, and Taylor chops it down on the offside. I don't mind too much doing a stint of umpiring, because it sort of gets your eyes used to conditions out in the middle if you're waiting to go into bat in the lower order. And sometimes you can get a look at the bowlers who are going to be bowling to you a bit later. Everson in bowls. Taylor blocks solidly back to the bowler, who disdains picking it up and allows it to roll to Pattinson White. Umpiring or scoring. If you have any experience at all of cricket at lower levels, you're liable to do one or t'other during the course of the day, as that's allowed to go through by Taylor. Bat upraised outside off stump.
If you're keen to be involved, you get so many youngsters that come along and they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. I mean, I would, as a youngster, I would jump at the chance, even if it's putting the tins up, putting the numbers on the hooks, anything just to get involved. But the opportunity as a youngster to go and stand at square leg for 5 overs, yes please.
As Taylor blocks on to mid on, and there's no run. LBW law. Don't give it out unless it hitting the in front of middle stump on the boot.
Essentially, yeah.
Off the back foot. Don't guess. 210 for 5. Umpires listening will be probably shuddering, qualified umpires. As Everson bowls and Taylor picks up a single with a firm push out towards Pattinson. Grazing towards the cover boundary, Taylor takes the strike as he moves on to 7. Glamorgan 211 for 5, 91 runs behind.
Yeah, seemed like there was a fairly easy get out there for Callum Taylor. Nobody between that short third man position and an extra cover, so he could just work it away square of the wicket on the offside. Take an easy single, get down the other end. Notts have got a few runs in hand, but not that many. I still don't think there'll be either too much between the two sides, or maybe even Glamorgan will forge ahead if North East can stay there and convert this into a really big score. Taylor's on strike on 7. Pattinson to bowl to him, and Taylor bobs underneath it. A little bit of limbo dancing there from Callum Taylor, and to make sure he got right down, he bent his back to get underneath that ball.
Bending his back nicely, isn't he, Pattinson?
He is. He looks in good rhythm.
Flogging some life out of the old ball.
He'll, I'm sure, be relishing the opportunity to bowl at Chesterley Street next week. I mentioned earlier, had a right old time of things there against Durham in 2017, and batsman on the pad here, and Notts can't believe it's not out. The ball has run down to third man. They're going to come back for two somethings. Taylor is the batsman, and he's going to get 2 runs, and we're now all having a little bit of a teapot and a look at each other. Clearly Notts thought that was absolutely plumb, and the umpire clearly thinks he's hit it because he's given the batsman 2 runs. And Jimmy Pattinson is, he's seeking witnesses. I think he's asked everybody in the side now, did he hit it? Did he hit it? And now he's trying to coax some information out of the umpire. Pattinson thought that was absolutely plumb, and the umpire thinks he hit it. 2 runs, 2-1-3 for 5. Taylor on to 9.
Yeah, there was a bit of a teapot going on, wasn't there, from Moores and Duckett?
This one might be quick. I've half a mind that
Another
this
short
might be
ball.
a quick delivery. Here is Pattinson to bowl to Taylor. Bowls nice and full, and it's hit back to James Pattinson, who is ticking. Right now he is ticking like an unexploded bomb. 2-1-3 for 5.
Well, Callum Taylor, having played some of his youth cricket in Australia, is no doubt able to play hard with the rest of the Aussies. Won't back down.
Simon says Trent Bridge is the best cricket ground in the world, and I'm not taking any questions. Well done, Simon. This one sees Taylor duck underneath it, and then he's not looked at him. I'm going to say he's not looked at him. Pattinson's giving it the glare, but Taylor wasn't engaging eye contact. The batsman will always win in a stare out with the bowler, because sooner or later the bowler has to turn and go back to the other end. 2-1-3 for 5. It's generally fun to watch when James Pattinson's bowling, unless you are the batsman. There's always things happening, and it's usually happening at a decent speed. He bowls again, and Taylor plays it nicely to mid-on, up to the skipper, Stephen Mullaney.
Well, we know Taylor can hit, but he's trying to demonstrate at the moment that he can block at the moment, and trying to get through this spell from Pattinson, and hopefully for him something rather more friendly with the closing overs with this old ball.
130 for 2 at lunch it was, so 83 for 3 so far this afternoon. We've got 6 more overs after this one. Pattinson to bowl to Callum Taylor, number 4 to number 4, and they'll take a leg by.
Oh, shot.
And James Pattinson side foots home from 8 yards as they take a single. Northeast had comfortably made his ground, but Pattinson side footing the ball onto the stumps. 2-1-4 for 4 at the end of the over.
Striker's predatory instincts inside the area. As he turned the loose ball home. Struck the stumps. 214 for 5. Taylor 9. Northeast 72. The men out in this session. David Lloyd for 76. Kieran Carlson for 22. And Chris Cook without scoring. Where are we time-wise? I don't think I'd better start this over, because I might not be able to finish it, and Mastermind would have me on toast if I did that, because there's an update for BBC Radio Wales listeners at half-time in their football programme.
OK, no problem at all, Nick. We'll speak to you maybe even after tea, because there's 6 overs to go. Make sure you get one of those scones. 214 for 5. Taylor has 9. He was eager to get down and get on strike, and now his reward is facing the returning Dane Patterson, who begins with a delivery outside the off peg. Patterson hasn't yet picked up a wicket on his return to Trent Bridge. 14 overs, 5 maidens, 0 for 33 before this the latest spell. Can't speak for everybody, but you sense the crowd's really enjoying this proper 4-day county championship cricket. Patterson to bowl to Callum Taylor, push into the offside. Liam Patterson wide, who just had a couple of overs before lunches. They're doing the fielding. This is the 64th over with this ball. Patterson turns. Comes past umpire Illingworth, bowls, and just defended in front of him by Callum Taylor. No addition to the total. Dane Patterson, born in Cape Town. 33 years of age now. This is his 118th first-class match. 418 wickets at an average of 23 apiece. And those figures earlier in the winter for Wanderers of 7 for 20, and there's a catch by Duckett. And Patterson does have a wicket. Callum Taylor has gone flashing at one outside the off stump, and it carries all the way through to Joe Clark, who takes a good catch low down. Good hands from Clark, And Notts have 2 bowling bonus points. Glamorgan 214 for 6. Taylor caught Clark, bowled Pattinson for 9. And Nottinghamshire have their 4th wicket of this afternoon session. Taylor out, having batted for 26 minutes, faced 23 deliveries, hit 1-4. And he'll feel he'll be regretting playing the shot. Went hard at it outside the off stump, but we're feeling a little unlucky. It was a good catch from Joe Clark, low down. Clark's 2nd catch of the innings. Caught Salter this morning off Pattinson. That was more waist height area. This one was very low down, but good safe hands from Clark. Michael Nisa is the new man. Nick was all along wondering if it would be Wheel or Nisa to come in at 8. Well, now we know. North East remains on 72, but at the other end, things just starting to happen more frequently now for Notts. So Dane Pattinson amongst the wickets. 2 balls left in his 15th over, 1 for 33. Nisa, another right-hander. Haven't seen the left-handed Wheel yet, the only left-hander in the Glamorgan side. Here's Pattinson then to bowl to Nisa. First ball offers him enough width to let it go through. Fourth wicket of the afternoon, 2 to Joey Everson, 1 to Brett Hutton, and now 1 to Dane Pattinson. Morgan still 88 adrift. Pattinson bowls, Nisa defends. End of the over. And warm applause for the former South African international. 214 for 6. Nottinghamshire can make serious claims, I think, for just having shaded this session now. 84 for 4. The afternoon's work. James Pattinson to bowl. Bowls and cut away for a single. Flew down quickly to 3rd man. Just 1 more. 215 for 6. So Nisa to face his first ball from Pattinson. Gets everything behind it, plays it up to Mullaney. Into the half-time period now in the football matches, the 3 o'clock kick-off, so we'll be doing a Radio Nottingham update in just a second. So you'll find me going off at a tangent in a moment. There's Pattinson to bowl to Nisa, bouncer, goes through to the keeper. Yes, Glamorgan now 215 for 6, so that makes the visitors 87 runs away from matching Nottinghamshire's 302. Not so had a decent spell in recent times. A couple of wickets down at lunch early in this afternoon session. Brett Hutton got rid of the skipper David Lloyd for 76, but more recently then 3 wickets have gone down. Joey Everson with a couple of identical dismissals. Kieran Carlson and Chris Cook both caught behind, feathering Everson through to Tom Moore's. That was 198 for 4, 200 for 5, and now Dane Pattinson, the South African returning for his second season at Trent Bridge, has just removed Callum Taylor. Good catch low down by Joe Clark, his second catch of the day. That was at first slip. Sam Northeast, you may remember, had a couple of games for Notts last season. He's dodged all the bullets. He's 73 not out. Notts could really do with him. They've got a lead of 86 at the moment, hoping to polish Glamorgan off either side of tea, which is 4 overs away. Glamorgan 216 for 6. Here's James Pattinson to bowl to Northeast. And again, he's got everything behind it. Absolutely in tune with the wicket, the surroundings. Sam Northeast not remotely look like getting into any sort of trouble for a long time. Up to Notts to find a way of trying to dislodge him. I think Pattinson's using this what was a pile of sand at the start of the day as a little marker. He walks round it and then sets off on his lengthy run, bowls, and Northeast to push into the offside. No run, end of the over. 216 for 6. 4 overs to go until tea. No surprise, having just taken a wicket, that Dane Pattinson will continue. So Liam Patterson-White, just the 2 overs to conclude the morning session. See on the live stream there some of the Glamorgan spectators, or supporters, just getting to their feet, having a bit of a stretch before the tea interval. Wonder if we'll see them on the outfield. Wonder if they've brought their bat and balls. There's Patterson now to bowl to Michael Nisa, who's got one that's skewed off the outside portion of the bat down to third man for a single. Doubles his score from 1 to 2, and it's 217 for 6 with Wheel, Van der Houten and Hogan, the 3 batsmen we've not yet seen at the crease. Patterson turns at the pavilion end and then will come in to bowl to Sam Northeast, who was on 44 at lunch. He's now on 73. Leaves this to go through to Tom Moore's, who took 1 catch last week in the match down at Hove. First time he's played a senior match down at Hove. Of course, he was born down that part of the world when Peter Moores was the Sussex head coach. And there were photos last week of him playing on the outfield as a toddler down at Hove. Scored some useful runs, 40 odd, and took the 1 catch. 2 today is taken as Northeast drives to mid-off. Who is Brett Hutton. Elsewhere in Division 1, Yorkshire 236 for 5, so they've forged a lead at Bristol over Gloucestershire, and Harry Brook is 77 not out. A lot of raps for Brook. Mulaney at wide-ish mid-off, and there's no run. Dane Patterson He's waving his arm. I don't know to who or why, but seems like he's okay. He is. 218 for 6. At Canterbury, Lancashire 506. Kent's openers 50 without loss in reply, and that means that Ben Compton is in the runs again. 27 not out, scored a century on his Kent debut last week. Somerset 70 for 5 at Taunton, 1 behind still, as Nisa pushes this away for a single. 219 for 6 at the Oval. Surrey 467, Hampshire 63 for 4. Hampshire the only Division 1 winners last week, defeating Somerset. Division 2, Sussex have lost a couple of wickets at Derby. Derbyshire made 505 for 8 declared. Sussex have lost Tom Haynes for 41 and Tom Alsop for 7. A couple of single-figure scores for Alsop against Notts last week, as this drive from north-east goes to mid-off. Pujara is fresh at the crease. And Leicestershire 64 for 2, replying to Durham's 428 or at Chesterley Street. End of the over. 219 for 6 here at Trent Bridge, with 3 overs left in the session. Is it going to be... Yes, it is. A continuation of the all-Pato theme. James Pattinson to bowl what will be his 18th over. 17 overs, 1 for 62 to him. Dane Patterson, a lot more miserly. 16 overs, 1 for 36. Nick's back from his travels.
Yep, having to wait a little while they rattled through the football half times as Pattinson bowls, and Nisa's got something on that. It's running down towards final leg for a couple of runs, maybe even 3. Yes, North East will come back for a 3rd run, and there was some degree of bat involved as umpire Illingworth looks rather suspiciously towards the ropes at the pavilion end, saying, "Are you sure that didn't go for 4? Well, no one's sure, and least of all us, because it's at the opposite end of the ground. 222 for 6 then. A double Nelson is on the board. Nisa is on to 6. With those runs to his credit. Pattinson from this Ratcliffe Road end is into bowl to North East. Short ball pulled around by North East, but all on the ground to deep fine leg. Single taken. 223 for 6. Double Nelson wasn't on the board for long. In the Championship, Swansea City are goalless at home to Barnsley. If Mr. Bevan is there, he may well be. He's a season ticket holder, my colleague Edward Bevan. Cardiff City have found the road to Hull being the road to hell. They're 2 down at half-time against a struggling opposition going into that game. Newport County are also having a bit of a mare by all accounts, losing 2-0 at home to Crawley at half-time, slipping out of the Division 2 playoffs. As there's Nisa beaten by that one outside off stump, a bit of extra fizz from Pattinson, and through it went to Moores.
I'd love to have him mic'd up, because there's lots of comments out there.
Yes, maybe it's as best we don't, because we don't have a bleep machine.
Yeah.
And in the National League, Hollywood owned Wrexham 0, Solihull Moors 0. Not sure what the latest twist in that Netflix drama will be when they finally get round to stitching it all together. Pattinson bowls outside off stump. Nisa has nothing to do with that one.
The florist must have been and chopped down the daffodils, because they've all disappeared all of a sudden. So whether they're
taking an early tea in the bar behind, maybe
they're loitering with intent to get there on the outfield and go and play with a bat and ball, have a bit of a runabout, or maybe they've moved on.
223 for 6. Glamorgan followers flag. The daft flag is still up away to our left at deep cover point as Nisa faces up to Pattinson, and he plays that one to Hasib Hamid at cover. I tell you what, the Nottinghamshire fielders are high on the Amdram stakes today, aren't they? If they're bored in the winter. There's a place on stage for them at their local playhouse. Behind you. That was nearly out. Oh no, it wasn't. They're giving it everything, suggesting that even shots coming off the middle of the batter are near misses. 223 for 6 to Boyer. Pattinson, who almost gets another wicket. It's a leave by Nisa. A bit of movement, and it just goes down the leg side. 223 for 6 at the end of the over. 79 runs behind our Glamorgan. And that looks quite a long way away on the evidence of the afternoon play, which Nottinghamshire have taken 4 wickets for 93 in the afternoon. 4 wickets for 51 between the fall of the 4 wickets from 3rd to 6th.
I don't think there'll be too much between the two sides. It's very much all on Sam Northeast, but we're waiting for this movement behind the arm. People in the pivot. Oh, a lady says, "Oh, sorry, but I'll just stand here." Is it a lady?
Oh, here I'm not meant to be. In this position here, standing up. Not me.
I'll stand still, so I'm not a distraction. No, sit down, please. 223 for 6. Here comes Dane Pattinson. 2 overs left in the session. Bowles forced into the offside by Northeast, and he goes to an equal top score in the innings of 76. David Lloyd out for 76 earlier.
Are we going to be later than yesterday, do you think?
I think we are.
I think we're a couple of minutes later to tea.
I think we are. 224 for 6.
Get Patterson White on. PDQ. LPW.
A prompt finishes at Hove last week, and I was expecting it to be similar in this game, but this one's into the body or the top of the pads of Michael Nisa, and no run, but not much spin action.
I mean, there hasn't been much in the way of delays today. Not still -1 on the over 8. Glamorgan -1 in the Nottinghamshire first innings. But I mean, yesterday I think there was a brief hold up for the change of a ball, and a couple of players got magic spray on the knuckles when they got wrapped. But I can't think of any real interruptions today.
No, we've not got to the stage of the summer where we have lengthy drinks breaks either, as this goes through to Moors.
One question I think about the state of the ball that umpire Illingworth told them to get on with things.
So 224 for 6. This is the 68th over. 1 more over to come. So after tea there'll be 11 overs before that second new ball becomes available. An awful lot can happen in that period of time, as we saw yesterday. That's where Notts really lost their way between the 68th and 78th over. As this one has cut back and just misses the stumps. Michael Nisa survives. Tom Moores couldn't hang on. Is it a bye? It is a bye.
Woof.
Again, sharp movement from Dane Patterson, and this with a ball of just saying 68 overs old.
Well, that was considerable movement, and it was too good for Nisa. And unusually in first-class cricket, it was too much for the keeper as well.
Did well actually to stop it going all the way through for 4. Got a glove just about on it. 225 for 6. Glamorgan trail by 77. Here comes Patterson now to Northeast, who's pulled this one onto the leg side. James Pattinson will make the stop, and does, right on the ropes. Dares them to go through for a second, which they won't. And in comes the throw. So Northeast now the top scorer.
Yeah, Northeast has been content to accumulate, which is fair enough, while he's still got a reasonable degree of batting ability at the other end. James Wheel generally can look after himself, but he'll look to get on with it. Will hang around if you need him to. 226
for 6. Nisa has 6. Next ball is worked away onto the leg side by Michael Nisa. We'll move on to 7. 227 for 6. We've had 97 runs in the session, so I like a nice round session. So if there are 3 runs from this last one, 100 in the session will be nice to record. 227 for 6, and yeah, James Pattinson has already handed his hat to Ben Duckett, who's scuttled it all the way to the umpire on his behalf, and we are 6 legal deliveries away from tea, unless a wicket goes down in any of those 6 deliveries.
Maybe Pattinson's last over with the old ball, if Glamorgan do bat through those remaining 12 overs with it, as he comes charging in and bowls, and forward comes Nisa, blocking to mid-on. Fielded by Mullaney, no run. You can imagine Pattinson from his approach being like a cartoon bull charging with clouds of steam coming out of his nostrils, can't you? He's that sort of physical bowler. 227 for 6, Glamorgan 75 runs behind, only 4 wickets remaining after Nottinghamshire was the better of the afternoon session. Nisa faces up to Pattinson and plays no shot through to Moores. A little bit more cloud now, gently drifting across. Temperature maybe dropping a degree or 2, but still very acceptable cricket watching conditions compared to last week in particular. And a good tense and largely fairly even battle, but it's a vital stage of play. As Pattinson bowls and Nisa leaves outside off stump. Run rate of, where is it on the board? It's about the 3, just over 3.
3.31.
There it is. 3.31. Thank you. Quite a lot of figures. So it's just a matter of working out and remembering where the one you want is. The partnership is 13 so far, off 29 deliveries. Awful lot of information on there. As 3 slips still, despite the ball being that old, 4 saving the single. Pattinson bowls, full length ball that Nisa works on the leg side and will get 4 runs just forward of the umpire. There are some fairly large spaces on the leg side, and once it had gone past mid wicket it was racing away. There is no square leg. 231 for 6 as Nisa goes into double figures on 11 not out. 2 deliveries to come until the scones charge. The Northeast can maybe lean on his bat. He's 77 not out at the non-striker's end. Will he have to face again? Unless there's an odd number of runs. Because this season, if a catch is hit and the batsman cross, then they go back to where the new batsman faces still. Pattinson bowls, Nisa jabs down on this and takes a single, so Northeast, oh, in fact they've taken 2 with Everson might have got there a tad more quickly, but he was possibly dreaming of his 2 wickets in the afternoon. And they come back for an unexpected second. 233 for 6. Glamorgan 69 in arrears.
So that's 103 in the session.
No,
103 for 4.
That's spoilt your
my OCD. Not that I've got any, but
your sense of order and propriety. Last ball of the afternoon then will be bowled by Pattinson to Nisa, and will be defended by Nisa on the offside to Hamid. There is no run at tea. Glamorgan 233 for 6. Nisa 13 not out. Northeast the top score, 77 not out. 4 wickets have fallen during the afternoon session, and commentary will return in 20 minutes time here on BBC Sport Online.
Absolutely spot on, Nick. Many thanks. Many thanks to everybody that's got in touch. And as Nick says, we'll be back with you in 20 minutes.